everyone. Welcome to Shell Point Today for Tuesday, July 14th. I'm Rich Nation.
And I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi. On today's show, we'll talk with Sarah Nadel from the marketing department about social media and the ever-popular Facebook app that many use to keep in touch with family and friends. And we'll meet residents Bill and Joan Schlackman, who represent the best of both worlds, the United States and England.
But first, we want to remind you of an outing for lunch at Rosie Tomorrow's. That's the name of the destination, so I guess it's tomorrow's even today. And it will be tomorrow's the day after and the day after that.
You're not going to start that again, are you?
Rosie Tomorrow's Heritage Farm is the full name of this exciting lunch location happening tomorrow. Founded by Rose Odell King, a former sheep farmer, French culinary trained chef, and food and wine columnist, this picturesque acreage in North Fort Myers with sprawling grandfather oaks draped in Spanish moss and beautiful vistas with iconic lines of white fencing is where she raises the very best food. Yes, it really is a farm. Rose insists on good ingredients from local farmers, and you'll enjoy music from pianist Dan Tudor while dining at this exciting location. The cost of the trip is $8 with lunch on your own. Court pickups begin tomorrow on the island at 9:15 a.m.
By now, you should have received one of these in your mailbox. This is the 2015 Resident Viewing Survey, and we're asking residents to take a few moments to give us their opinion about Shell Point TV, which consists of channels 11, 12, and 13. The survey will help inform us how we're doing, what areas to focus on in the future, and what we might do to improve our programming for you, our residents. You can also pick up one of these surveys at either service desk, or you can fill out the survey online at shellpoint.net/SPTV survey. Please note that we're asking for only one survey per household to be completed. Once completed, written surveys can be sent to the marketing department via intercampus mail or dropped off at either service desk. The more convenient way would be to fill out the survey online where there's nothing to mail or return. Again, that's at shellpoint.net, and starting next week, there will be a clickable banner on the homepage that will take you right to the survey.
The next choral workshop will be held at the choir room of the Village Church on Thursday at 9:45 a.m. and also on July 30th and August 6th. All singers are encouraged to attend, whether you're a soloist, community choir singer, or church choir member. To register for the workshops, contact Caitlin Van Scoy at 454-2057. Public Relations and Events Specialist Sarah Nadel here at Shell Point will be teaching a class on social media this Friday, focusing particularly on the ever-popular Facebook app. Sarah manages Shell Point's Facebook page and visits with Terry Koloth to talk about the upcoming course and how Facebook is utilized for presenting Shell Point's image and identity and communicating through Facebook with others.
Hi everyone, I'm Terry Koloth and I'm here today with Sarah Nadel. Sarah is our Public Relations and Events Specialist, and we're in her office right here in the Sales and Marketing area. And she's going to do a class in the Academy of Lifelong Learning on, of course, social media. We're going to focus on Facebook. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
It's great, Sarah. I was so glad when you said, yes, I will tell everybody what we're doing with social media, because I know you were involved from the beginning. When did we start Facebook?
Well, we joined Facebook in 2009 at the very end of the year, and then I took over the page in March 2010. So I've been involved in the strategy and the content. We've got other team members that help with some of the insights and the analytics and things.
So those are pretty fancy words that you're throwing out there. Basically, what does this mean to us? Why would Shell Point want to be on Facebook?
Well, we have 40% of our residents on our Facebook page roughly. We have about 40% employees and 20% people who may be Shell Point residents in the future. So there's actually a number of different reasons that we're on Facebook. Brand awareness.
And they're all looking at Facebook on a regular basis. So you having a wonderful opportunity. You're giving a wonderful opportunity to all of us to tell our story. To
Yeah.
40% of our residents, 20% of our staff.
40% of our staff, and then about 20 who are either future clients or even family members of residents who are interested in what mom and dad are doing down here.
Exactly. So what does it mean? Social media, Facebook, in a little synopsis. I know you go into this in the class, but it's a great time to talk about it.
Sure. Okay. Well, during the class, we are actually going to look at what bigger brands are doing on Facebook. We'll talk about ShellPoint a little, but I also want to look at some of those popular companies like Coke and Oreo and talk about how they keep their pages interesting, what kind of content they come up with, and we'll actually talk about things like viral video and hashtags.
Wonderful. Now, Sarah, you've been using the word brand. Is that the way we present ourselves to the world beyond ShellPoint?
Yes, absolutely, and that's part of what we here at the marketing department do. We look at ShellPoint, we look at the organizational identity, we think about our values and our culture, and then we try to represent that visually and also in our content that we produce.
And boy, do we do it well. Our hats go off to our marketing and communications department in every way. We look at something, we go, that's ShellPoint. That's my community.
That's the goal.
That's wonderful. Okay, so can we communicate with people on social media, on our Facebook page?
Absolutely. We get reviews and comments from residents all the time. In fact, just today we had somebody asking us a question about how apartment sales work, and we were able to, within about an hour, respond to their question and provide them with links to more information.
So you're an information center behind the Facebook, behind ShellPoint on Facebook. We also, for me, I can tell people about academy classes that are coming up.
Absolutely.
And we can tell people things that are open to the public. Do you do a lot of that on Facebook?
Yes, there's actually an entire events listing tab where if you were interested in attending an academy class, you could go on our events listing, find it, and share it, and then your friends would see what you're attending. Maybe they'd even be interested in joining you.
That's wonderful. Now, is the role that you play with Facebook to gather all of our information and actually put it on Facebook?
I do, and actually curate is the word that I use. Gather is
Sure.
great too. I look at the ShellPoint Life magazine, things that we're putting on the website, talk to the sales department, see what maybe some of our messaging to the public is, or what the hot news is, events coming up, and then fit all of that into a schedule so that we're sharing that information in a timely way.
Fabulous. Now, I don't want to go into right now how we get on Facebook, but could you show us what it looks like once
Sure.
somebody gets there?
Absolutely. So when you visit ShellPoint's Facebook page, this is what's going to come up. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see all of our posts and content like this one about the estuary.
Wonderful. So residents, family members could say, wow, there's a new community where mom and dad live.
Exactly.
Now, can our residents communicate with each other through our Facebook page?
As long as they have a Facebook account, it's easier for them to communicate directly with each other on each other's profile pages. But you can message the page. There's a way that you can email us if you want to get a hold.
So, we want to save something for your class because this is fascinating. But if someone does come to your class, what can they expect? Will we see all this on a large screen?
Yes, and we'll have our Facebook page pulled up. We'll be going over various features in the class that our residents can use on Facebook that we use as a brand as well. Things like scheduling posts out in advance when we know that we're going to be out of town, or, for example, for residents on a plane flight somewhere, they can share that information remotely.
Oh, this is going to be so interesting and so exciting. And the possibilities for our residents are just, in fact, just something interesting to do with a little bit of time in the evening. What's going on with ShellPoint Retirement Community?
Yep, and there will be lots of time for questions.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, we thank you, of course, for what you do in this very organized office. You're a busy lady, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
Well, we do hope that you'll join us. The class is Friday, July 17th from 10 to 11:30, just an hour and a half, and you'll be up to date on ShellPoint and Facebook with Sarah Nadel.
Up next is a story about a couple who represent the best of both worlds, the United States and England. Joan was born in England, but she met her husband while living in New York. Bill was born in New York, but after marrying his British bride, moved to England for 30 years. Bill was a pioneer of psychological market research, which examines the mindset of consumers so companies can better know what products to offer them. Let's learn more about this intercontinental couple.
I was born in the Bronx, but my childhood was spent in Brooklyn, New York. We lived through the Depression, of course, which left a very strong impression on me. And I remember, for example, coming home and all our furniture was in the street. And that was because my father couldn't pay the rent. He didn't have the money. So it was a real difficult time during the Depression. I was at public school in Brooklyn, and then I went to a high school in Brooklyn, Samuel J. Tilden in Flatbush, New York. And then I went to Brooklyn College, and then I got a master's degree in City College in specializing in clinical psychology.
I was born in London, and we lived in London until the war. And then my father evacuated us with our parents to the countryside about 40 miles from London in the hope that we'd be safe. We lost our home. Our home was landmined. My parents rented a big house with about 6 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. And practically everyone my mother grew up with found us and knocked on our door when the air raid started. And so our house was always full, people sleeping everywhere, but mostly in the cellar. There was a cellar to the house. And every night we'd all get in our pajamas and dressing gowns, go down to the cellar and sleep in chairs. My childhood was checkered by the war and life was difficult. I was a designer. I had quite a reputation at the time. I was probably one of the youngest designers at the time of Mary Quant, who was a very well-known name. I came for a vacation. I decided to stay and I tried to get a job, but it was very difficult. I got a temporary job at Lord & Taylor, and the first counter they put me on was the apron counter, which I thought was an insult, but they didn't know anything about me, so I was lucky to get a job. And the aprons, it was Christmas time, and they gave me a pile of aprons that were made of black tulle, and they had little Christmas trees and bells on them. So I thought I'd make it exciting. I modeled them, and I stood behind the counter and shook myself, did the shimmy so that the bells all rang. And I sold a tremendous amount of aprons. People came in and asked for the little British girl.
I had a friend who wanted to go to a social event at the Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan.
I went back to my apartment that night and wrote to England to my parents, and I said, "Tonight I met a man I'd like to get to know better." And here he is.
I'm flattered.
We got married probably within
3
3
months.
months of me first meeting her. The company I was working for, I eventually became a vice president in that company, and he sent me over to be the managing director of that unit in the UK. Basically, what we were doing is indicating what the key factors were that attracted people to different products that we were studying. And this kind of information was very helpful in developing merchandising and marketing and advertising. Take something like selling automobiles. We did a study and we found, for example, that young men wanted to have convertibles. They wanted something racy and sporty. But once they got married and got kids, they were frustrated because it was not practical to have that kind of vehicle. So what we suggested to the Ford Motor Company, they produce a car that looked like a convertible, but wasn't a convertible. That would make it practical from the view, but they'd be able to get the satisfaction that they're having a racy, sporty car. And this gave rise to the hardtop convertible. For example, I think it was a Betty Crocker cake mix. Now, interestingly, in those days, homemakers felt very guilty about buying something in a pack and stirring it up with some water and creating a cake, because that was, taking the easy way out, and they weren't being good mothers and good homemakers. So we told them to add an egg.
And remember, those fresh eggs added to Betty Crocker cake mixes help give that special homemade goodness.
Give them compensation so they feel less guilty about serving and using that kind of a product. In England, I was among the first people to introduce these kinds of methodologies into advertising and marketing.
People didn't know how to take him at first, but then they regarded him as, well, he's an American. What do you expect?
So that's very, very true. At that time in England, there was very much a class system, and people who were from the working class and from Whitechapel and these downgraded areas, they were looked down upon. They didn't know that this guy is a low-class jerk from Brooklyn. No, they said he's a Yank. So they forgive me, And the important thing, of course, I was able to mingle with in the English hierarchical social structure from the top to the bottom.
We even ate with the Duke of Edinburgh and sat with him at his table, which was amazing to me.
From 1958 until about 1990, something like that, I worked in the UK.
We were younger and it was exciting, and it was really a very good life. Bill is far more
Far more British than you are.
I became more Americanized. We're newcomers.
Yes, we're relatively new to Shell Point altogether. We had a home on Sanibel.
We made so many friends on Sanibel and in the surrounding area, and they're all here.
A lot of them.
We all aged at the same time.
They refer to this place as Sanibel North. It has so much facility in terms of activity and so on, that this is, for us, a really wonderful environment.
And now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Hello and welcome to the happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Caitlin Vanscoy and I'm here with Bev Chanley, and we're going to let you know all of Tuesday's happenings. We start bright and early at 7:15 with the Health Connections class, Bend, Breathe, and Balance. That'll be in the Health Club. And then at 7:30 we have round robin doubles tennis at the Woodlands tennis courts. 8 o'clock pickleball will be at the pickleball courts. And at 8:15 the Stamp Ministry will be gathering in the Stamp Room, and that's down in the Island Tunnel. The Ladies Golf Association will be meeting at the Shell Point Golf Club at 8:30. And at 9 o'clock, match play mixed doubles tennis will be at the Woodlands tennis courts. At 9:15, we have summertime fun. It's a bingo game at the LifeQuest Aquatic Center, and we'll be having light refreshments. At 9:15, we have open painting in the art studio. And also at 9:15, shuffleboard will be played at the shuffleboard courts. Through the Bible study group will gather in the Osprey Room at 10:15. And the Suzy Q heads out at 10:15 to Grandma Dot's restaurant. You do need to sign up for that at the Island Greeters desk. Our last morning activity is at 11:45. It's LifeQuest Living Healthy class in the Osprey Room. Here's Bev to tell you all about our afternoon.
Thank you, Caitlin. At 12:30, we're going to have mixed progressive bridge. That game is at the game room of the Woodlands. At 1 o'clock, we have a Health Connections class, fitness room orientation down in our health club. You do need to sign up for that class. We have another Health Connections class at 1:15, fun with nail art. That's in the social center. 1:15, the knitters group will be in the Osprey Room. Also at 1:15, the rollicking recorderists will be in the Tarpon Room. And our last 1:15 activity is the Women's Ministries Prayer Group, and that will be in the hospitality room at the church. At 1:30, we have a Health Connections class, Aqua Pilates Stretch at the LifeQuest Aquatic Center. 1:30, the Stamp Ministry will be in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. 2:45, we have a Health Connections class, Balance and Mobility Training Level 2, Session B in the Health Club. That's currently full. Well, that concludes our activities for today, and we will see you back here tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Terry Koleth with your Academy information for Tuesday. At 10 o'clock, the rise and fall of the Ottomans will take place in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands, and you can sign up right at the door. At 10:15, our iPad, iPhone walk-in clinic will commence in the Manatee Room on the island. Stop by with your questions. We have a new class coming tomorrow. It's Coffee with a Neighbor. Introduction to Hot Air Ballooning will take place with Roger Olson of Oakmont. Please bring your ticket.
Menus for Tuesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is pot roast with creamed spinach and boiled red potatoes, and the soup of the day is lima bean. In the Island Cafe for lunch, the special is a ham and turkey sub with Swiss and chips for $7.75. The dinner special is tropical barbecue flank steak with sweet potato and fresh fruit for $8.75. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Tuesday are veal parmigiana for $15.95 or chicken cordon bleu for $15.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and I'm here with David Pavey, my associate, and we're here to talk about an event that's coming up tomorrow called Coffee with the Pastors. And you know, David, one of our great delights as pastors of the Village Church, and of course people who are involved in the Shell Point community, is getting to know new people.
Exactly.
And then of course having given an opportunity for them to know us.
Right.
And so this is an event that we do from time to time, usually about 3 or 4 times a year.
So who's invited?
Oh my, everybody's invited who either is relatively new to our fellowship, our congregation, who wants to know more about the staff of the Village Church, or people who have just simply never been to one of these before and haven't had a chance to meet in a small group kind of setting, which is wonderful because the pastoral staff is there. It's an opportunity for us to share who we are and for them to share with us who they are and get acquainted in a more substantive way. And we've done that now for quite some time, and I know that you've always been there, I've always been there, but it's been a delight, hasn't it?
It has. It's story time, really.
It really is.
We share our story, they share their story, probably in reverse order, but that doesn't matter. And then it's question time. If they can ask anything of any of us, and that really is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is there any food this time?
There absolutely is always food. This time, are you kidding? No, it's food. We provide light refreshments.
Yeah.
The actual event will be tomorrow at 1:15. That's Wednesday, July 15, at 1:15 in the hospitality room. So light refreshments, coffee, water, those kinds of things. It's after lunch, so it's not a heavy kind of thing, but there's some wonderful refreshments, dessert-like kinds of things, and fruit that will be there.
Time frame?
It usually lasts about an hour,
yeah.
I would say. But it's an interesting opportunity. I am always delighted to find out about people. It's one thing to shake a hand at the end of a service.
Yeah.
And to have a brief conversation as we walk through Shell Point and meet some people. But as you mentioned, it is an opportunity for people to tell stories about where they came from, why they've come either to Shell Point or to the Village Church or to Southwest Fort Myers or whatever. It's a wonderful opportunity.
It's a great encouragement, too, to hear how God has led people.
That's right.
How He's intervened in their lives and, as the Bible says, shown to them the paths of life.
That's exactly right.
And here we are together now in community at Shell Point, and it's so important to get to know people and to start well so that we can build relationships and they can participate more fully in the church life. It's really a great time.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it personally. I always enjoy it.
Yeah. And the sooner people do this, I think, the better. If they're just initially getting acquainted with the church or the fellowship, I think we get to make some important connections and we don't have forever to do this, you know. So I think the faster we do it, the more we get to know one another. I think that's an exciting part of it. Some people actually go from this opportunity to going to a class that we provide that's a membership-related kind of class in the Village Church that's also primarily informational, that we do usually about the Sunday afternoon after this time, and we do have one of those scheduled for the 19th. Sunday afternoon, the 19th at 4:30. But this one is the main thing to enjoy this opportunity to share together, just to get acquainted with one another.
The membership meeting is an opportunity, not an obligation.
That's absolutely the case. Yeah. That's right.
There's some alliteration there for a preacher, you know.
Yeah,
you might enjoy that.
As some friend of mine told me, that'll preach.
Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly right.
So can you remind us again when this is and where?
So Coffee with the Pastors, July 15, Wednesday, 1:15 in the afternoon in the hospitality room at the Village Church. And so we certainly hope that if you haven't had a chance to really get connected with the pastoral staff before, haven't come to one of these before, or are relatively new to the Village Church, that you'll join us. See you soon.
Bye now.
Thanks for joining us for today's program. On tomorrow's show, we will head out behind the Resident Activities Center on the island to learn all about pickleball. And Anna Smith from FindMark Bank will talk to us about important financial documents, which ones we should keep and which ones to discard. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, July 14th. I'm Rich Nation.
And I'm Mary Kay Grimaldi. On behalf of all of us here at SPTV, we wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again here tomorrow.